This is the new Pinarello F, the latest and greatest creation from the revered Italian brand. I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm going to go through all the intricate details. I'm going to weigh it, see if it's as light as they say it is, and perform a free hub sound check. And in addition to that, I've brought along my own personal Pinarello F12, the previous model, to see how it compares, particularly with regards to weight, and also highlight the other differences that have been made, because they're quite subtle in places. The first headline is that the Pinarello F is going to be available in both rim and disc brake like we have here. And this certainly bucks the trend for most other top-end bike manufacturers who, with their latest models in the last 2 years, have only been available in disc brake. And despite this, Pinarello reckons that it'll still sell 80% of this bike in the disc brake variant, which is pretty interesting. Next, we need to talk about the name. It's called the Pinarello F because, well, Pinarello have run out of numbers. It could have been called the Pinarello F14, but instead, Pinarello have decided that, well, the Dogma is a special bike and it doesn't need a superficial number attached to it. And I can kind of see their point. I mean, you can imagine that they could have got to a scenario in 2035 where Tadej Pogacar's on course to win his 14th Tour de France, while Alejandro Valverde's rounding out the top 10, and Ineos are riding the Pinarello F37. It would have just been silly. What isn't silly, though, is the way it looks. I'm a massive fan of the styling of this bike. It's beautiful. I mean, it's got this organic, curvy, sculpted aesthetic, which kind of deceptively leads you to believe that it's all about form, but it's not. It's the shape of this bike in every part of it is completely function driven. And you can see that it's a direct evolution from the original Pinarello F8, which was a bike designed by Dimitris Katsanis, who is regarded as the godfather of aerodynamic bike design. He was a key member of the secret squirrel club that propelled Team GB to Olympic gold medal success. And he designed many other bikes as well, such as the Pinarello Bolide TT bike and the Hour Record bike that Bradley Wiggins used as well. You know, that considered, it is a deceptively aerodynamic bike, especially when you compare it to more sort of overt aero designs that are out there. But more on the aero details in a sec, because we need to talk about the paint job, which, I mean, if you were from Swindon, then you'd call that silver and black. But Pinarello's from Treviso, which means that it's plutonium flash. Behold. It does look pretty smart, doesn't it? Well, this plutonium flash paint job is stunning. I'm a big fan of the mirrored sort of details that are on there. Even the torque setting on the seat post is this nice mirrored finish that says 6 Newton meters. And it's very similar to kind of the gold and green iridescent paint job we had on an F12 for the Dream Ride video a few months back. Very nice. For me, though, the biggest change from the F12 is the weight. And the F12 came under a fair amount of criticism for being a bit heavy in the disc brake version. And this is common with a lot of aero disc brake frames. A lot of them do come over 7.5 kilograms. However, Pinarello has sought to address it with the F, and it's gone on a diet. It's quite a bit lighter now. And in this disc brake build we have here with Jura Ace Di2, it's said to be just 6.8 kilograms for a size 54 without pedals, though I should add. Whereas this one is a size 56, slightly a bit bigger, a little bit heavier, and my size. So I'm going to weigh it and see how it actually compares and see if it is as light as they say it is. Well, it's blowing, trying to keep it straight. 6.77. So my F12, 7.18. It's heavier. And it's rim brake. God's sake. The wheels are different. Oh, got power meter. Got power meter. There you go. Power meter on this one. That's why. It's probably a bit lighter still. So there you have it. The disc brake bike has gone on a diet and got lighter. What's especially exciting as well is the rim brake version is said to be even lighter still, which is pretty cool, although I haven't seen the exact figures for that. But how has Pinarello achieved this lower weight? Well, it's happened in a number of areas, starting with the cockpit. They said they saved 40 grams there. On the F12, I've got it's a most Talon Ultra, whereas on the F, it's now the most Talon Ultra Fast. Maybe on the Pinarello G, it will be the most Talon Ultra Super Duper Fast, and it'll be even lighter still. Pinarello also says it saved 25 grams in the headset. I took it apart to see how it compares to the F12, and it looks remarkably similar. And I suspect the weight savings actually in these spacers here, particularly this main collar spacer that you have to run, because they're now made of a polymer, whereas before they were sort of alloy and a little bit heavier. 58 grams has been saved on the disc brake fork, which is loads, and the through axle saves 20 grams as well by switching to lighter through axles, which is quite a sensible and easy saving to make. One of the differences is with the little Aero Flaps we see on the bottom of the fork, these are now actually literally just sort of a flap that sticks on the edge of the fork as like a fairing, whereas on the previous bike, if you look on my fork, for example, you can see it's like a solid piece that sticks out. So, you know, a little bit of weight presumably saved there. Moving to the back, they reckon they've saved 27 grams on the seat post itself, which I can believe because it's amazing how much thinner this one is compared to the outgoing one. It's not something that's immediately obvious when you see pictures of the bike. And the shape of the bike here, you can see it's almost just so much thinner here, especially top down, than it was on the F12. And a big saving, 35 grams, has been made on the saddle rail clamp. And they've done that by 3D printing it out of titanium. So this is now an additive manufactured saddle clamp. And wow, I mean, it looks very similar to the outgoing one, but yes, way lighter now. The actual frame itself, so not the fork and the seat pin, is actually said to be about 5 grams heavier than the outgoing model. And this is likely a consequence of it being more aero and, according to Pinarello, stiffer than the old one too. And it's still made from the same Toray 1100G 1K carbon fiber that's made with nano alloy technology. And you know, not all carbon fiber is equal. We bang on about this all the time, but this stuff comes from Japan and is the same stuff that's used in Formula One cars and aerospace. Overall, the weight saving is said to be 265 grams, which is pretty significant in high-end bikes. And when you start adding other bits on there, so bits you'd actually use like pedals, a power meter, a bike computer, bottle cages, it is going to push it over that 6.8 UCI limit, probably to around sort of 7.2 kilograms. So, which is very competitive for an aero disc brake bike. But it'll be interesting to see if Ineos does use the disc brake version or sticks with its trusty rim brake favourite. Of course, you could reduce the weight a bit by putting some lighter tubular wheels on than the clinchers we've got here. Now, new bike cliche alert, it's said to be stiffer as well, 12% stiffer at the bottom bracket over the previous version. And you can sort of see why that probably is the case. When you look at the shape of it here, it's much more pronounced and higher, and there's much more material here than the F12. And one of the aero features has been revised as well, which probably contributes to this. So on the F12, you have this widened down tube to help incorporate the bottle and not get as much aerodynamic penalty for sticking a water bottle onto your down tube. And we've got that here, but where it used to just step down and then step down again on the F12, you can see that, we'll cut to a shot now. You can see that here it steps back up and sort of beefs up the bottom bracket area. And this brings us on to the other aero tweaks and refinements that have been made to the F, starting with the fork. Now, it's derived from the fork that's on the Pinarello Bolide TT bike. And on this version, it's said to actually be able to sort of sail in the wind and generate lift in certain crosswind situations, which is pretty cool. And the shape is, well, it's slightly different from that's on the F12. I was just comparing the two head on, and on the F12, it's got a much more bowed sort of shape at the front, and then this is actually, it's been straightened on the top section and then it bows out just a little bit at the bottom. And then, as I mentioned previously, we've got the little flaps on the dropouts as well, which are a feature that Dimitris Katsanis first put on Bradley Wiggins' Our Record bike. Moving to the back of the bike, and it sort of retains the asymmetry in the stays that Pinarello's synonymous for. And one of the most obvious visual changes is also the C-stay junction and the way that connects into the seat tube here. You can see that it's much more streamlined, and the shape of the stays is also, they're just narrower and more streamlined compared to that's found on the previous version. A few more tweaks and revisions on this down tube that I spoke about that's widened to incorporate the bottle, but previously there was a little lip on the edge of the down tube. That's been removed now, it's just flush. And also the junction box that was housed there for the Di2 on the F12, that's gone. And I mean, it makes perfect sense. It's more simplistic to have it in the bar end, so that's where it is now. And in its place, we've got a UCI sticker. Yep. Elsewhere on the bike, it's just kind of thinner all over. Any way you look at it, it's like an F12 that's breathing in, is the best way I can describe it. And in total, Pinarello reckon it's 4.8% more aerodynamic than the F12 disc, which equates to a 1.3 watt saving at 40 kilometers an hour, or 2.5 watts at 50k an hour. So not much, but well, every little helps. And as bikes just get more and more aero, it is becoming a case of diminishing returns and just tweaking things. And this is a classic example of that. Other cool details on the bike, it's got an Italian threaded bottom bracket, same as on the F12. That's like an English threaded bottom bracket, except the thread goes the other way. The Talon most ultra fast cockpit is available in 16 different sizes, and the frame is available in 11 sizes, which is loads and way more than most bike brands. Most of them go in sort of 54, 56, 58, kind of, 2 centimeters at a time. This goes in all those sizes in between that as well, which is great for getting the exact sort of fit you want, and means that Pinarello has to produce twice as many molds for the bike as everyone else. So it's quite an expense for Pinarello to do that, but they feel it's something that sets them apart and is worth it. Now, with regards to the cockpit itself, if I just shuffle over here, you can also fit a standard bar and stem to this with a special sort of adapter here, but because it's available in so many different sizes, I don't really see why you'd want to do that, and it would be less aerodynamic too. And on a bike this high end, you'd get to pick and specify the size cockpit you'd want with regards to the length of the stem and the width of the bar, although it can be a little bit confusing with the way Pinarello sizes it. So this is a 38 centimeter wide bar, which is nice and narrow and aero. It's what I like to ride. But it's listed as a 42 centimeter bar, which is quite wide, and that's just because Pinarello measures it sort of end to end at its widest point, rather than sort of on the hoods in the center to center, which way most brands seem to do it. In the Jura Ace top of the range build we've got here, these wheels are the standard wheels that the bike comes with, and they're DT Swiss ARC 50s. Very nice with the 240 hubs on there, and they've got P0 Pirelli race tires on them as well. The saddle is badged up as proprietary most, as with the rest of the finishing kit, but I've seen these being made in the Sella Italia factory. It's basically a Sella Italia SLR Boost, the same that I've got on the F12 with a nice carbon rail on it. Another little cool details on the bike are just the little torque scrub screws that hold on the stem, and also the seat pin back here, and the way that the little torque settings for them are written in little silver writing next to them. And well, having lived and travelled with the F12 for a good couple of years now, it's all very detailed, all very well made. Nice. Moment you've all been waiting for. I'm going to do the free hub sound check now. These DT Swiss 240 hubs, they usually sound really good. So let's see. Oh. Sounds good in here as well. It's like reverberating around. So there you have it, the new Pinarello Dogma F. It's not designed to be an out-and-out climbing bike or an out-and-out aero bike. It's just designed to be the best all-round bike. And it certainly is beautiful. But the question is, would you rather have the rim brake version or the disc brake version? Let us know in the comments, and also just let us know what you think of the bike, and subscribe so you don't miss future bike tech. I'm going to go now, and I'm also Gonna hope that Pinarello forget to ask for this back. Bye.